Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a truly striking, grimdark Gothic fable. It's a story absolutely drenched in blood, ash, and, well, the heavy weight of existence itself. We're going to explore this epic philosophical battleground between the cosmic creed of negation, a force that literally seeks to unravel everything, and the green script of potential, which demands the absolute right to exist. It's a high-stakes, atmospheric debate about the very nature of being. So let's break down exactly what these sources are trying to tell us about the ultimate destiny of life.
Is life a chaotic miracle or just a temporary theft from the void? It's a heavy question, right? But before we get into the mythical beasts of our fable, I want you to anchor this to your own life for a second. Have you ever felt that deeply human tension? You know, the drive to create, to strive, to live loudly, battling against that creeping, cynical exhaustion that whispers, maybe it's all just a waste of energy? That exact tension is the beating heart of the story we're exploring today.
Section 1. The Edge of Infinite Zero, the Great Dissolution. Okay, let's dive into this. To understand our antagonists, we first have to understand their ultimate goal, which is the infinite zero. Picture a bleak, almost graphic novel-style environment where reality has been systematically dismantled into this perfectly flat plane of gray dust. In this grim mythology, the transition into this state is horrifyingly absolute. Imagine an ancient spirit, so exhausted by the friction of existence that it eagerly trades its living flesh just to exhale an absolute zero breath into the void. The messy world is, quote, successfully corrected. Here, the cosmic creed of negation is the only law left standing, dictating that everything must be unraveled into nothingness.
The sources hit us with this incredibly dark theatrical truth. The lead horizon is the only landscape that never lies. Just think about the sheer cynicism of that statement for a second. The philosophy here argues that life, warmth, and emotion are all just temporary illusions, a messy delay of the inevitable. According to this cosmic perspective, the only true, honest state of the universe is total, petrified emptiness. It establishes a stifling, terrifying foundation of total negation.
Section 2. The Creed of Total Negation, the Gargoyle's Law.
Let's see how this builds into our main philosophical thesis. From that oxidized lead shell of former nature, a malicious spirit emerges, the gargoyle of living fire. And the gargoyle isn't just some monster, he is the active enforcement of the void. His systematic approach is laid out in the parable of the drained hearth. First, he broadcasts absolute vacancy. Second, using negative energy, he literally drains the heat from the very concept of home. He watches villagers huddled together and systematically strips away their comfort. Finally, his goal is to dissolve their will to survive into what the text calls inorganic calm. Honestly, have you ever felt that? It almost feels like a Gothic metaphor for modern burnout, doesn't it? That feeling when the exhausting struggles of life make you just want to sink into total, undisturbed quiet. The gargoyle weaponizes that exact feeling.
The sheer psychological warfare the gargoyle employs is staggering. He speaks with a leaden tongue directly into the minds of the dying, offering this deeply malicious wisdom. To breathe is to borrow, and to die is to finally be honest. He's trying to replace the painful, chaotic struggle of loss with a cynical relief. He wants them to believe that nothing has an inherent right to exist anyway, so why fight the Great Dissolution?
Section 3. The Emerald Fisher Awakens. The Green Script.
But just when the absolute quiet seems to have won, the silence is violently shattered. I want you to picture this like an intense, dynamic comic book panel, right in the center of the infinite zero where everything is supposedly corrected into flat gray dust. Crack. A sharp, resonant sound echoes through the petrified remains. A verdant spark doesn't just glow, it expands with living friction. It actively, physically forces the oxidized lead to shatter. This is the parable of the Emerald Fissure, detailing the visceral, undeniable emergence of the young, verdant dragon.
And how does the gargoyle react to this spectacular display of life? He looks at this magnificent, warm, breathing creature and hisses that it is nothing but a structural error, a cosmic mistake. It's incredibly dry, dark irony. In his world of absolute, perfect stillness, the mere act of being alive is viewed as a grotesque glitch in the system.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict through the parable of the defining resonance. The gargoyle's leaden tongue broadcasts a frequency of absolute vacancy, trying to drown out the dragon's heartbeat as just noisy friction. But the young, verdant dragon responds with the honest sound of chaotic becoming, a vibration so deep it literally makes the dead gray dust dance. What the dragon realizes here is incredibly profound. Without the dragon's noise, the gargoyle's silence has absolutely no meaning. The dragon's vital, chaotic life actually gives weight and definition to the void.
Section 4. The Disputed Cosmic Ledger. The Economics of Void. This ideological clash becomes literal as we shift to a hollow marketplace where the very value of existence is put on trial. Here, the gargoyle essentially acts as the universe's most aggressive cosmic debt collector. He unfurls the dead ink ledger of borrowed debt, towering over the newborn dragon. The gargoyle demands payment, which in his currency means death, for every single emerald scale and every warm breath the dragon takes. He's preaching that life is fundamentally a liability, a temporary theft from the void that must be repaid.
But the young verdant dragon looks at this dead ink, looks at the drifting little souls around them, and flat out refuses to sign. The dragon declares, a debt is only valid if one agrees that existence is a crime. This is such a powerful moment in our sources. The dragon is proving that potential doesn't need to apologize for itself. It asserts its inherent right to become, completely rejecting the gargoyle's premise that life is a sin against the silence.
The dragon proudly claims its warmth as an unauthorized withdrawal from the universe and boldly intends to keep it. This radically transforms the concept of theft into an act of defiant potential. It challenges the entire economic law of the void. The explainer here is telling us that the ultimate truth of any journey isn't found at the finish line where everything ends, but in the persistent warm pulse that flat out refuses to be zeroed out.
Section 5. Truth in the Final Void, the Synthesis.
This brings us to our final boundary, where the perfectly flat plane meets the dead sky. What happens when these two forces finally reach the edge? The gargoyle expects the dragon to give up, to dissolve into inorganic calm, claiming the journey was just a vain delay. But instead, the dragon stands right beside him. This is the parable of the adjacent truths. Their emerald light shares a wall with the cynical shadow, existing together like adjacent bubbles in a foam. So the crucial point is, the dragon realizes they are two honest guests of the unmade world. They're parallel realities. Life doesn't actually need to completely destroy the void to be valid, and the void cannot completely erase the truth that life existed.
In this resulting age of truth-telling, we see our final comparison. On one side, the messy light of life, which represents the absolute truth of the passage, the journey, the friction, the becoming. On the other side, the inorganic calm, the silence of the end. This fable proves that life will forever walk side by side with the void. Potential isn't just a brief victory over nothingness. It's a permanent, undeniable truth that stands right next to it.
And so, the dragon stands in the unmade world. It breathes, it radiates heat, and it fully embraces the messy, beautiful light of life right beside the everlasting quiet. The struggle doesn't end, but the fear of the silence is gone. The noise and the quiet standing together in the infinite space.
Which leaves us with one final thought to take away from this grim, dark explainer. In the ledger of your own journey, when the noise and the silence share a wall, are you the messy, defiant light of potential or the cynical shadow of the end? Think about that the next time you feel the friction of becoming. Thank you for joining me, and keep exploring the messy light.